Getting your first reptile might be the most exciting experience of your entire reptile journey, from beginning to end. Even if you've been in the hobby for 40 years, you probably remember bringing home your first leopard gecko, bearded dragon, ball python, whatever it was, and with the help of my buddy, who you might know better as Zyclopath on YouTube. Zyclopath, right? Zyclopath. Zach, Shade, and I are going to go get his very first leopard gecko. I'm Adam, this is Littlefoot, and we're going to go get a gecko. Stick around. If you're thinking about getting your first reptile, you might know someone who already has reptiles, and this is really important. And if you don't, then there's guys like me who talk to cameras in their basement and teach you how to do things. But talk to somebody who knows what they're doing. Go to an expo. It's another great thing to do as well, and speak to people. But always set up your enclosure first. So Zach and I went over to our buddies at Niagara Exotics. Chris and everyone who works there, fantastic people. This is maybe one of the best shops I've ever been in terms of reptiles. Very professional, tons of selection, and they really know what they're talking about, which was great for Zach, because when Zach went over there to put his deposit down on a reptile, which is what you should do, by the way, make sure you have your reptile picked out, and then you bring everything home, set it up, go back, get the gecko, wham bam, Bob's your uncle. I don't know why you guys like that saying so much. And then you're good to go. So no matter what you do, if you go on Kijiji or Craigslist and you buy something like I normally do for my enclosures, or if you go to Niagara Exotics or another really awesome reptile shop in your local area, just make sure you clean it out first. Number one, right? So you take everything, you pay for it, you bring it back, bring it home, and then clean everything out. Make sure everything's super duper clean. We just decided to get the Leopard Gecko starter kit. It has almost everything that you need, and I wouldn't say that these are always the best. I've seen some of them at PetSmart which aren't so great, but the Exoterra version that we got here has almost everything you need. We needed to buy some extra things. Calcium powder, right, with D3 is what we bought, and just regular calcium powder too. It does come with a heat mat, but you're going to need a thermostat, and then the thermometer that they give you isn't the greatest, so we bought one of these bad boys here. And on top of that, you need to feed your gecko. Of course, Gecko Care Guide up here if you'd like to watch it. So we needed to go ahead and buy mealworms. Crickets are another great thing to feed them. All that stuff's in the care guide. And because Zach doesn't like touching bugs all that much, we got some forceps so that we can tong feed, or you can just scoop them out that way into the water bowl and food bowl. And we just bought an extra water bowl because it only came with one, and you should probably give your gecko standing water. Alright, so you walk in the shop, you look at everything, you pay for everything, you're on your way home. Bring everything inside and bring it up to temperature. That's really important. And now you can do this as you set things up, or maybe you live in Southern California, Arizona, where it's going to be warm anyway and everything's going to be the right temperature. I live in the freaking Arctic, so Zach and I had to bring everything in. As we set it up, we made sure that we gave it some time to adjust. And then I suggest too, as it's adjusting, put your thermometer in there and reset it once everything's up to the temperature it should be, and then monitor it for 3 or 4 days. So check. See if the temperature is right? Because if you get one of these ones that has 24-hour high and 24-hour low for temperature and humidity, you can keep an eye on how hot did it get and how cool did it get. And that's really important because you need to know the highs and lows and the fluctuations, and observe the enclosure, make sure that, you know, the temperature wherever you put it, probe it, make sure the hot spot's right. And once you're satisfied that the enclosure is right for whatever that animal is, in this case a leopard gecko, you can go and bring your leopard gecko home. Your leopard gecko doesn't really care what it looks like. As long as it's set up so that it's got the 2 hides that it needs, or several hides if you want more, one being a humid hide, and it's got water and places to cover and a food bowl and all that. Your gecko doesn't care what it looks like. But at the end of the day, keeping animals in captivity, it's for us. I mean, we don't do it for their health. We do it for us. And it's important to remember that. So your enclosure, whatever you use, if you use a tub system, if you use an Exoterra like Zach bought here, just make sure that you set it up the way you want it, the way that you like, as long as all the parameters are covered for that animal. Have a good time, make it look beautiful. Zach, it's going to be in the back of his YouTube channel, so if you watch his YouTube channel, which you could, click this card here if you want to check it out.
Like, you know, you have that anime character who's just like ultra powerful but ultra stupid looking. That's what we're going for here.
It's going to be there. You can check out the leopard gecko. Now, just a couple notes when you pick out your actual animal. You might not get it at the same place. Like, you guys know I don't talk highly of Petco and PetSmart. If you want to buy everything there, generally, you're just buying a bunch of plastic stuff and glass stuff, so it doesn't matter. You can buy whatever you want there. I don't support buying animals from there, but if you go to a local reptile shop or you go to an expo, just make sure you're looking at things. For snakes and lizards or whatever else, turtles, tortoises, make sure their eyes are clear, especially for snakes and lizards. Make sure that their mouth is clear, tortoises and turtles too. So that, like for example, a ball python, if you just squeeze their head just a little bit and mucus comes out, it might not be a healthy ball python. So just things like that. No stuck shed, which is really nice if it doesn't have stuck shed, because that means that it's shedding all in one piece, which it should if it's a ball python, for example, or some sort of colubrid snake. There are other animals, bearded dragons, for example, they don't shed all in one piece. So just make sure you've done your research, which obviously I should have put at the top of the video. Do your research first. Extensive amounts of research, but I just found that was pretty obvious. You should know what you're doing. Don't just go buy random stuff. And ask questions to the person who's either bred it or is selling it. And I didn't even ask. I think Zach went in there and talked to the people several days before we did part 1 or part 2 of this video to ask questions like I directed him to ask. I gave him a list to ask. Is it eating? What is it eating? Will it eat crickets? Will it eat mealworms? Different food options, right? This is important with all animals, especially if it's a hognose snake, just as an example, which generally have a hard time sometimes getting onto frozen thawed rodents, or ball pythons. Does it eat mice? Does it eat rats? Eventually you'll need to switch it on to rats. Ball python care guide here if you want to know more about that. So Zach asked all the right questions. He was eating basically everything that was put in front of it. Is it handleable? Because Zach wants an animal like Littlefoot here who can just hang out on his shoulder as he's shooting his videos or just watching TV or whatever. So you're able to do that with this animal. He asked that question and it turned out to be pretty true. A little bit skittish, but babies often are. What is the morph? What is the sex? And with this animal, she's too small. And I say she, just I don't know what temperature they incubated it at. So it could have been a male or a female. There's temperature sex determinant, but either way we didn't know because it was too small to sex. I couldn't figure it out. She's too small, too young. But she's a Bell albino. You can tell that right off the bat just by looking at her. And just ask if she's had any issues. And if someone's being reasonable and knowledgeable and they're being honest, they'll be able to tell you right away. You know, you look for things like monitor the poop. And last week we did a video about how to quarantine animals. Yeah, Zach doesn't need to do that. He has no other animals. This is his only animal in his house. So what's really nice about getting your first animal is you can actually set it up in its forever home or the juvenile home or however you do it, instead of keep it in a plastic tub on the side in a quarantine rack or quarantine shelf like we had to do with Diglett because she's new and I got a whole collection. So your first reptile, maybe the most exciting time because you can set it up however you want it. Just make sure that you don't bring home another reptile in 2 weeks and put them together. Quarantining animals is important, but not for this video because you only have one reptile. And that's it. I just wanted to do a quick video about how you can get your first animal, everything you need to do when getting your first reptile. Thank you very much, Zach, for taking part of the video. He's really happy with his animal, and I think you will be too. As long as you do all the research, follow the very simple steps. And I took this video out of the comment section below. That's where I get all the ideas. So throw an idea down there. We'll do your idea next week, maybe. And because I do videos twice a week, that means I'll see you on Thursday.